Hello, it is another Saturday and it's time for Spirit Talk. My name is Emmanuel and I am broadcasting, that's what it's called, broadcasting from Norway. And today we're going to be looking into spiritual warfare. Welcome to Spirit Talk by Free Legions, a platform for those who love God and seek fellowship without crippling judgment, without the human control systems, and without the religious ways of the world. So come join us as we dig into spiritual issues that are related to our everyday life. So here we are again, and it's another Saturday. I'm happy and content. I bought myself a new microphone. It has the name almost like a character in Star Wars, very close to a Jedi. But I'm not using it today because there might be some noise and it's too sensitive. It just picks up everything. But regardless of that, we're going to be digging into spiritual war. And it's kind of like a follow-up to what happened last time. Because the last two Saturdays I've been talking about the Leviathan spirit and how these kind of forces can influence our lives. And of course, the goal is to get rid of them. And I shared a little bit about what happened in my life. And then, of course, there are a lot of different forces, and they may work in different ways. But what happened with the Leviathan spirit was that it did try to isolate me. And that is a tactic that the enemy will use quite often. It will either try to corrupt a person, to corrupt their mind, their values, their doctrine, whatever it can. And if that doesn't work, then what else can be done? Well, let's isolate the person. Because if you cannot interact, if you cannot be around other people in a fruitful way, in a way that, is powerful and charging and making a difference, then you're gonna be weak. Much, much weaker. And if you are isolated in a flock, think of a war. If there's one soldier out in a field, how easy is it not to get that soldier? However, if there's 100, that's quite a challenge. You don't want to go for them. You want to go for the lonely ones, the ones that are without company. That's what the animals do in the brutal world of survival, and that's what's happening in the world of spiritual war as well. And so through Leviathan's specialty of twisting communication and creating perceptions and deceptions that are keeping people away from each other in a way where they may have lots of communication, but still they're not communicating about the same things. They don't connect. Then through that spirit, which of course is, controlled by darkness, and it's part of just what we have to go through in this life, but through that, well, it's an effective way of isolating, because if none of the communication goes forth in the way that it was meant, surely it is not so surprising if the good and valuable connections, the good and valuable and fruitful and empowering relations don't turn up to be what they're meant to be. Anyway, this was my challenge. This was my way of feeling the enemy's pressure and, his strategies to cut me off and weaken me. And luckily, I knew that we are in a battle, and this is part of his weapons, his tactics. And that is half of the game. If we are able to understand that it comes from the enemy, that it is an attack, and that it is meant to stop us from doing what we're supposed to do, then that is half the way of winning. It is the beginning of winning, because if we think that it is because there's something wrong with us, that's just how it is, that's just what life is like, and all kinds of things like that, we're gonna give up. And that is a victory for the enemy. That's what he wants. So the battle goes on inside of us. Now, when we are isolated, we are more helpless and we are more vulnerable. But we are also helpless because we are actually made in a way where we need other people and we need to interact in order to be complete, because we are not complete, we are not perfect. And so you may say, well, can't you just toughen up? Well, as I said, we're in a war, and one soldier out in the field is gonna be weak. And because of that, we absolutely do benefit from being a part of an army. We need fellowship. We need to unite. We need to bring together the forces that we have and, stand together despite our differences. And that can be hard. It can definitely be hard, but it is through that we can win. It is so important for our victory. And that's where love comes in, and being able to connect and walk side by side without letting our human control systems, our feelings, our all of these things that we have to go through while we're here on earth, not letting them be stopping us from being one team. We're an army, and we have one common enemy, and it's not each other. It is definitely not each other. That is exactly what it says in Ephesians. Our enemy is not flesh and blood, but it is powers and principalities in heavenly places. A few years ago, I did not have many soldiers next to me. I was pretty much isolated. But things have changed. And as I've gone through the different stages in the battle and understood what the different stages were, God has granted me one soldier here and another one there. And bit by bit, I'm actually joined with a lot of good people fighting for God, standing next to me side by side. And as you can hear, I have guitar playing right here now. It's kind of like this cozy campfire guitar sort of music. And that music is made by Bart. And he's one of those soldiers that are around me. He's the one that has started hosting my website and helped me a lot with that. And he's dealing with, music, and he's playing these kind of songs that is kind of like just makes things so much more cozy. So I got him with me, almost. I mean, his name is Bart, but he lives in Netherlands and is absolutely not here. But if you want to check out his stuff, you can find it at The Funky Bassist. And that's one of the soldiers that God has connected me to. And then I have others. I have George, that has started to help me with technical things and editing the audio files that I make here. And that's amazing. And then, I have Janne Christine, which is the prayer walker that is coming soon with her own show. Or, I'm going to have the show, but I'm going to follow her. And it's just amazing to see how bit by bit God is putting together this kind of army. And we are getting stronger through it. So if you are out there and you don't have that kind of army, if you don't have fellowship and like-minded people, then that is one of the priority prayers that you got to focus on. And you may have to be patient, but stick to it and have faith in it. Don't compromise. Don't go into societies and communities where you know that is not right to be, simply because you don't find the right people. It will take a little bit of time sometimes, but it's worth it. And I know I'm supposed to talk about spiritual war, but connecting the army is such a crucial part in a war. How are you going to battle if you don't have a team? I mean, recently I was connected to Greg, which is going to come on and have Kingdom Talk. It's a new show that we're setting up. It's something I planned for a long time, but I wasn't sure who's going to do it. And then he pops up and he really wants to do interviews and that kind of stuff. He has a tremendously interesting background. And then we have Marianne. She's been helping me with prayer gatherings. I mean, these things are just so valuable. And that is the basis of a war. First, we gotta gather. We have to gather the team. Because a house that is divided cannot stand. And even if this is not the entire house of the earth, it is our little house. It is our little team. And what goes for the big goes also for the small. And if we manage to gather and connect and cooperate and put our focus and intent and efforts together for God, in His way, not in our expectations in our minds, but the way that He wants it and He sees it, then He will come among us and He will guide and direct and make it into what it's meant to be. And that's the beginning. That's the beginning of winning a war. We're in a war already, and it's not a matter of where is it, because even if it's invisible, I do believe that most of us can sense it. We're being attacked. It is tough. We have challenges. We are strangled from within or from our own, and life is just tough, challenging, and the world is getting more and more, crazy, I guess is the right word. Last weekend, it was the 13th and the 12th of August. I was in a prophetic gathering, and it was Tom and Jane Hammond that was holding that gathering. and they were visiting a local ministry here in Norway. And we're really lucky to have them coming every year because, I mean, Norway is such a small country, and it's probably too small for them to travel to because it's not that many people gathered, but it is so valuable, and I do believe they really love Norway, so they keep coming back. And while we are there, we are 50, perhaps 70 prophetic, powerful people gathered. It's not like anybody is against that kind of thinking. It's just power, and everybody wants to have work done. And so I'm just going to give you a little glimpse of what we do in that kind of gathering, in that kind of setting, because I know there are people, a lot of people, that think that gathering for prayer is something so lame and dead and, boring. Oh, it's coffee and cake, and it's like, oh, please, God, oh, please, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's something they flee from. And I can understand that. I never thought of prayer as something interesting. I was doing my own stuff, which was more like prophetic adventures and digging in the spirit and battle and, fighting with forces and finding out what is going on and that kind of stuff. And it was so real. It was more like an action movie than a tea party, to say it that way. Sometimes it was just glorious and blessing, and sometimes it was swords and axes. And that is also what I experienced is being done when we gathered last, on this gathering. It wasn't last weekend, it was the weekend before, I guess. And you can think of that, 50 to 70 people gathered, and they're all kind of like with their swords up and like, yeah, we're going to take this territory. And through that journey that we go through with both prayer and music and declarations and prophetic guidance, we discover things. And we actually take territory. And it's not just about taking physical territory as geography, but it's also about taking back territory within ourselves. And I mentioned that with the Leviathan spirit, I took back that territory that had been under their control. Or to be more precise, I was completely helpless and unable to take back that territory. But I managed to give it to God. I managed to reach Him and be in touch with that area in such a way that there was a real release. And so I want to prepare people that are out there that may be popping by this and they think of prayer as something, just a sweet thing that you do with a smile and everybody's fake and pretending that it's so blessing and it's tradition and it's religion. And, well, there is a different way of doing it. There is a different way that is real, where you actually get things, you experience things, and you have an interaction with the divine in a way that you don't want to mess about and waste your time on TV and other things. If you experience this, you just want more. You get revelation. You get to see into matters and find secrets and the next step of your path is being revealed, and the plans of the enemy is being exposed so that you can go against it, and it's active. You don't just talk and focus on it. You have to do something as well. I mean, it is intriguing. It is challenging, and sometimes it's real adrenal kick sort of thing, and sometimes is so blessed and so simply drunk in the spirit that you may seem as a proper drunk, you know. So it is everything but boring. Everything but boring. It is time for the Norwegian word of the day.
Yippee!
So today I'm gonna have a word that is related to war, of course. I've been talking about prayer and how there are different ways of praying, but there's also different ways of behaving and, well, battling. If you're gonna go out in a battle, you can't go out with a tiny little sword and say, "Oh, please, enemy, could you please move? I mean, I'd like to have this territory back if you don't mind, you know." That's not gonna work. And so to be angry, to get that rage and wrath of God because life is being destroyed, because something is destroying what is of God and the fundament of everything that is good, that should make us very angry. We should not be like, "Oh, everything is fine because, you know, we need dark because that's what makes us aware of light." And that is true, but it is our task to fight against that darkness and to bring light into the darkness so that it becomes a better place. And, well, because of that, I'm gonna teach you a little bit about rage and anger in Norwegian. And sinne, or sinna, that is anger. And then we have a term where we put two words together. Have you heard that before? Two words together. We have sinna, which is angry, and then we have tug, or taggen, which means the tug. And that is like a small person, or it could be like a tooth or a little, you know, thing that is pointing out. But we use it also for a small person. And so sinnataggen, that is somebody that is small and very dense, compressed sort of, and angry, so angry, like, you know. And we actually have a statue called that. It is placed in Vigelandsparken, and it is, well, it's made by Vigeland, and that is in Oslo. And there's tons and tons of statues in there, but Sinnataggen, that is a small little boy that is so angry. You can see that he has this rage because he didn't get his will in something, and it's called Sinnataggen. So in English, I suppose, what could we call it? The angry, not the angry guy, that's, you know, just a guy, but like a tiny little dense dude. So, angry dude, I suppose. Sinnataggen. Now, during that prophetic gathering that I was at, there was a moment where we had been battling and we were about to take a territory within ourselves. And we were kind of like, you know, asked to go within and ask God, you know, to show us things, and everybody was expecting this good breakthrough and, you know, the beautiful scenes, and that's probably what they got. And I did the same, you know, like, "Oh yeah, God, I'm taking this territory, I'm standing on top of it," and so and so. And so I could see that I was walking into it, and I saw lots of horses, which is power and, you know, the force to change and transformation and things like that. And I was in this good mood, you know, now I'm gonna see the breakthrough. And then I saw a hand in front of me, as if somebody wanted to shake my hand and, you know, go into an agreement. And, well, when somebody comes in front of me, then what I naturally assume is that, oh, I better take that hand and, shake it and come in agreement, whatever it is. Something good is coming, And I took my hand out. I didn't do it on real, but inside of me, in the vision of what was going on, I was about to take my hand out, and I did, and just before I, touched that other hand, I realized that, oh, it is black. But God, this is evil. And so I almost took the hand and came in like an agreement, as if it was an invitation, But, well, I realized that, wow, this is bad. And so I was asking God, why? Why did this come? I was expecting the good. And I didn't need an explanation. I mean, of course, this is what the battle is about. The battle is going on inside of us, and it is so easy for us to expect something good. And something good will come, but before we get the breakthrough, I mean, if the devil can't stop us, he will most likely try to help us. Now, the devil didn't want to help me for real, of course. It was God showing me, like a warning, that be careful. Because when you come to that point when breakthrough is coming, you may get offers that seems to be the right thing. And what I had been longing for and yearning for, because it was within God's will and my purpose to do, it was my victory, so to say. My longing and eagerness to fulfill God's purpose could cause me to create something or agree with or go into something that was not of Him. It is like Isaac and Ishmael. If we are too eager, then we may very well end up, taking an invitation that is not from God. But the timing and the topic and everything seems to be what we've been, battling for. And then perhaps it's not. So it was a warning. I was really, really grateful for getting it. It was a little bit scary, but I was so grateful that I could have that warning in a vision, in an inner experience, instead of in real life falling into the pitfall. And so that's another piece in this spiritual war, that we have to guard our own thoughts and feelings and expectations, and all the time. It may look as if it is the right thing, but if it is from God, if it really is, then it will not go away, even though we spend some time testing it. So that's another piece. Test it. Make sure that it's not your desire that is causing you to jump on it, but that it's actually God pushing you into it. And then we had another thing that came across in this gathering that was also very, very valuable. And that was an advice from Tom Hammond, because my friend Janne Christine, she's the one who's going to be walking all around Norway, and we're going to have the show about that coming very soon. And she went up to Tom at one point and she told him about the plans, and he was really excited about it. And he told her that, the best thing that he would give her as an advice was to do like David. And we know that David, he was the battle guy. He was the one battling every day, all the time, defeating enemies and, all of that. But at the same time, he was also somebody that was really putting his attention and he looked to God all the time. And so Tom said, do like David and ask God for every little step that you take. Perhaps not every physical step, but I think you know what I mean. Ask God, am I going to battle this one? Am I going to go this way or that way? Just making sure that it's not my path and my desire, or your path and your desire, but that it's God's. And perhaps you say, but I don't know what God answers. No, I get that, but if you have a choice, and we all have choices all the time, and if you have a choice and you say, God, I want to do it your way, then that is half of doing it, because then you give away your desire and you say just, you have to mean it as well. It's not the words on its own. You have to mean it. But by doing that, you are saying that, okay, God, I put your will and your desire above mine. And so please, even if I don't understand what you want, send somebody, make me do it. And God knows how to make that happen. It is actually so that by giving away our will and putting it in God's hands, we have done the most important bit, letting go of our own desire and our own thought that we know better than everybody else, including him. So yeah, that was Tom Hammond's advice for Janne Christine and for the team, and that is pretty much what we are focused on as well. But as we are in a spiritual war, I do believe this is something that we simply cannot say it too often, because it is key. It is key to winning. It is key to not falling into the pitfalls. And it's simply just what we have to remember all the time. Now, I have a lot of other things I want to talk to you about when it comes to spiritual war, but I've just scratched the surface. I just set the stage for a lot of other things to come. And next time I will be talking about something that God showed me many years ago, about how spirits can attach themselves to us and influence us. I'm not saying this is exactly how it is and this is truth, but I'm going to share my experience, and then you can line it up with what you read in the Bible and see what you think. It's interesting. But before we close this section, I want to pray, because we're all in spiritual battles. Some are big and some are small, and some of them are hidden and some of them are very up in our faces. So I say, God, thank you for being with us. Thank you for opening our eyes so that we can see not only the enemy that may be invisible to others, but also his plans, his methods, and his strategies, even before he starts doing it. Let us be wise in you. Let us be soldiers that are skilled and equipped and aware. And I thank you also, God, that you make us able to see your plans and your strategies and your ways because it is so easy to get discouraged if we see what the enemy is doing. But then again, should we at all be discouraged when we know that you are on our side? I thank you, God, that you give us courage, that you make us aware all the time of all the things that the enemy throws at us on the inside, in our minds, in our thoughts, all of the things that we assume we have to go along with. We assume that we are like this, assume that we can't have this, or assume that we have to bend down for something that is robbing us of what you have for us, God. So I thank you, God, that you stir up our divine anger and make us stand up on our feet and say, I will not take this any longer. You're going to pay for this. You hear me? You're going to pay for this. And I'm talking to the enemy. That kind of sternness. We want to see that inside of all of your children, God. That determination, that knowing that stealing and killing and destroying is wrong, and I'm not going to take it any longer, and I'm going to go after that force that is causing these things, and I'm going to cast it out of my life and my family's life, my friends, everybody that I can put hand on. And it is not welcome in this realm, because I have been giving the word and your wisdom and your presence, God. And so with that, with your spirit, I can, and any believer can, lock things here on earth as we lock things in the heavens. So I thank you, God, that you bless us mightily and make us into those warriors that you want us to be. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, let it be done. Let it be done exactly the way it is, and start stirring up that Viking spirit. Now that's it for this time. I think these shows start going quite quick. But I will be back next Saturday. And as mentioned, I will talk more about this topic and how demons can influence us. And that's where the battle is. Discovering and understanding when and where it's coming from, and what to do about it. And if we get that kind of view, if we are awake and alert in the spirit, that's how we can stop it before it becomes physical and big and, tremendous. It's those tiny little things. So I'll be back next Saturday, and it's gonna be the same time, which means 10 a.m. in US Pacific time, 1 p.m. in Florida, 18 o'clock in the evening in UK London, and 7 o'clock in the evening in Central Europe. And I mentioned that we're gonna get Kingdom Talk. That is, what do you call that? A talk show with interviews. That's what it's called, with Greg. He's gonna come on. It's not starting tomorrow, but I will keep you informed. I'm very excited about this. Then I also want to give thanks to Kevin MacLeod, that is making the music that we are playing, except of course for the music that comes from Bart, my friend in Netherlands. And then I'm going to go off to a private prayer gathering. If you want to be a part of that, then send a message either to Free Legions at Facebook or freelegions.com, and we'll sort the technical details. Until next time, take care, be blessed, and know that God is with you.